Alright, apologies. It seems this scene transition is broken again. Oh, it's back. Hooray. Good. GuruSkippy playing as Ravner Alpha with a 2-0 advantage in the series. 3 match points for him. And Kastet struggling to come back in this one as the Warp Spider Exarch. I'm not entirely sure why this keeps happening, but whenever I switch, sometimes when I switch scenes between my my overlay and the game, it just breaks, and I have to redo my capture settings. It's probably some wonderful feature of Dawn of War 2 that I'm just finding out now. Alright, let's see if the tier 1 spam will work out for Kastet this time. It hasn't previously, leaving him quite bereft of any options in tier 2. Here is the first Tyranid game we've cast today, and it is the Ravner Alpha, a tunneling hero. Leaves these lovely little tunnels, which his units can use to move around the map. We have double termagants, which is very standard for the Ravner Alpha. Generally see a more ranged focus composition with the Ravner Alpha. Some Barbed Strangler warriors perhaps, and then a Venom Brood. Or just more Raveners as well. More Raveners is always good. It's always good to get a Warrior Brood out, though, for a basic Synapse. The only Tyranid hero that comes with a basic Synapse by default is the Hive Tyrant. And it's always good to have those guys around. Buffing up nearby Tyranids. Let's see if we go for a Barbed Strangler here, or if we keep them in their default melee stance and just use them as a buffing / deterrent unit. Warp Spider Exarch doing decent damage to the Termagants. Killing off one of them. Tunnel now in the midfield. Allows the Hormagants to move around the map nice and easily. And we have Toxin Sacks on the way for one of the Termagants. Oh, both of the Termagants. One already has it, actually. And the first Shuriken weapon platform is here. The second is on the way. She'll definitely have to see some Raveners out of GuruSkippy if he wants to deal with this. It's kind of a unit he probably wants to get anyway, so won't be too hard to persuade him to get that, I'm sure. Meanwhile, taking damage from base turrets, taking damage from a setup Shuriken weapon team are the Warriors, forced into a retreat. Shouldn't lose a model here. Covering for the Power Bash of the Termagants and the Ravner Alpha. Warp Spider Exarch did take out the tunnel in the middle. Ravener having some fun times pathing around this rock here. Going to take huge damage from the Guardian weapon team for his inability to walk around this obstacle. What's next? I hear a teleport. Yep, that would be next. The teleport over to attack the Hormagants, who are trying to cap up this wreck point. Warp Spider Exarch just evaporates 2 of them. Good stuff. Really good for picking off small weak models is the Warp Spider Exarch. And goes for the decap on the victory point. The entire Tyranid army. You're not wrong, Rostam. You're not wrong. Let's see what happens here. There's the Termagants move in under the fire of the Guardian weapon team. They do manage to kill 2 Guardians as they saunter their way to supposed safety. No upgrades on the Warriors. Looks like they are just being used as a Synapse buffer. And Raveners on the way. The first Ravener Brood is out. These guys are burrowing ranged infantry that can burrow strike to disrupt setup teams and then engage in melee. They're not bad melee combatants, but their strength is definitely in ranged firepower. Might see a second Ravener squad if GuruSkippy wants to spam. No ranges on the field. Range is not particularly good against Tyranids, except against the Lictor Alpha, where you need them to see them. They struggle against Raveners, burrow striking in on them. And they struggle if they get flanked by Hormagants. Warp Spider Exarch teleporting out of the danger zone. Termagant's having fun with the rock that the Ravener Alpha was having fun with earlier. Guardians advancing like crazy people to throw a grenade. Took massive damage for that. Meanwhile, Hormagaunts flanking around, taking on the generators. The Warriors, terrible retreat path. They might wipe here. Oh, the Warp Spider Exarch teleport just slightly off target. 1 HP, they do get it. That's really unfortunate. That's really bad then for GuruSkippy losing that Warrior Brood. Where did the other two die? Here. Oh god. They fought Banshees here and their retreat path went round this way rather than back the safe direction. Oof. Dawn of Pathing indeed. Where are the Raveners? The Raveners are in position. They can start up the Burrow Strike. They lose a model before they get underground, and here it comes. Kastet reacting quickly, but not quickly enough to avoid the disruption. Raveners now doing good damage in melee with the Guardian Weapon team, but there is a second Shuriken Cannon set up to defend them. Here we see the Ravener Alpha being stunned by the heavy gauge Death Spinner. Ravener Alpha does manage to get out of there, despite his retreat path taking him pretty much within point-blank range of the weapon team. So, Tier 2 started now for GuruSkippy. What will the choice be? Almost certainly a Tyrant Guard. We see that as the first purchase in Tier 2 by most Tyranids. We could also see a Venom Brood for the ranged Synapse, thereby buffing up the damage of all other ranged Tyranids. Venom Brood are Tyranid warriors with Venom cannons on all three of them. And Tier 2 now on the way for Kastet, going for a much lighter Tier 1 than we've seen previously. He's obviously been listening to old Uncle Rostam and finding out that, you know, if you buy all of your units in Tier 1, you can then never afford anything in Tier 2 or Tier 3. Guardians, oh my god, they're brave. Will they escape with their lives? They will. The Raveners burrow striking in onto the Guardian Weapon team, but they have walked into a crossfire of the second Guardian Weapon team and the Warp Spider Exarch. Did not mention the improved targeters on the Warp Spider Exarch, increasing his range and damage. No war gear on the Ravener Alpha. You very rarely see any Tier 1 war gear on the Ravener Alpha. Usually you might see the enhanced muscle coil in Tier 2. And Adrenal Glands is up for the Hormagaunts. And it will be a Venom Brood. So this dissuades the vehicle from Kastet, either a Wraithlord or a Falcon Grav tank. It also buffs all of the other ranged units in the Tyranid army. Once he picks up the ranged Synapse, that is. The base for Tyranids truly is disgusting to look at. Horrible. Horrifying. But, by the by, here come the Venom Brood warriors, as you can see. All three of them, armed with Venom cannons. Nice and green. Lovely. You like to see it. The Shuriken weapon platform needs to get out of here. Burrow struck upon by Raveners. Taking a lot of down. Hormagaunts in retreat. This will go down. Oh my. That's a bad start to Tier 2, losing your Guardian weapon team like that. Luckily he still has one more, but this massive brood of warriors going to be tricky to deal with. Warp Spider's called in. As a global ability of the Warp Spider Exarch is that he can summon Warp Spiders instead of having to build them from his base. Gets them onto the field nice and quickly. And we have the ranged Synapse in play now. That is a 35% damage buff to all nearby ranged Tyranids, which is the entire army barring the Hormagaunts, who are just there to harass and catch Guardian weapon teams in retreat. Warp Spiders getting their Exarch, doing great damage to the Ravener Alpha. We have the Corrosive Devourer and the Synapse Aura, which is a damage aura, a further 25% buff. And the Corrosive Devourer is like a plasma gun. It does some damage against vehicles, and he has the Corrosive Shots ability, which means he can choose to switch that on to do even more damage against vehicles. Second Warp Spider squad on the way for Kastet. These things have been his bane in this series. Losing Warp Spider models so expensive for Eldar. And against this ranged firepower of the Tyranids, they're almost certain to lose some if they engage heads on. What do we have here? We have the Regenerate ability. The armor. What does that do? Let's read it. It increases his health and increases his health regeneration. That you can't say it's not a descriptive description. Hormagant's going to get... Oh! The weapon team! It unset up at the wrong time. Oh, Lord. Luckily, Warp Spiders are in position to defend, but the massive bow strike, this Guardian weapon team's goose is cooked. Oof. Look at the damage from the ranged blob. Without the suppression of the weapon teams to control it, there's no fighting this. Banshee's chasing down Raveners, but the Raveners are slithering their way out of there. However, victory points. Dual cap for Kastet. GuruSkippy has to find a decisive engagement. He's wiped 2 of the weapon teams. That's pretty huge. But with the Warp Spiders ratting around, they're not going to have as easy a time of controlling the victory points, even with the use of Ravener tunnels. Warp Spider models having to get out of there. They do not want to start bleeding on these guys. It will really hurt them. Look at the damage. That's 1 Warp Spider down. That's 3, 4. Oh my god. It just cascaded from there. There was 1 and then there was 5 dead. Meanwhile, the Warp Spider Exarch trying to find a position where he can engage. Engaged in melee now with the Ravener Alpha. That's a losing fight for the Warp Spider Exarch, especially with the support of Venom Brood. With the support, however, of the Warp Spiders, the Ravener Alpha needs to get out of here. He's not having a great time. Venom Brood would do better engaging in melee, as it looks like they've worked out. Warp Spider Exarch barely gets out. Ravener Alpha barely gets out. The Venom Cannons of the Venom Brood exceedingly inaccurate against the infantry of the Eldar. But against the Wraith Lord, it'll be huge. Cancels the Wraith Lord, goes for another squad of Warp Spiders. Level 3 Hive on the way, Tier 3. Started up now for GuruSkippy, not in sight for Kastet. His Warp Spider plays have been expensive, desperately expensive for him. Reinforcing that squad costs him more than 200 requisition. Good grief. Horrifying cost of reinforcing Warp Spiders. And another power bash. GuruSkippy asserting his dominance in this game. The 3rd Warp Spider squad is on the way. Looks like Kastet has decided that his only course of action is just to stay mobile, stay annoying, try and win via victory point pressure. But there's never going to be a point in this game again where he can take a heads-on fight. Catching out the Venom Brood, this is good. These guys aren't very tanky. They're not squishy by any means, but they're not going to stand up to 3 Warp Spider squads. All 3 of whom have their Exarchs. Let's have a look-see. Now moving into Power Bash, 3 Warp Spider squads alongside a squad of Howling Banshees. Look at that Power Bash damage. Oh my. That is so much firepower from the Death Spinners of the Warp Spiders. But the Tyranids are coming. They're not happy with this. Get off my lawn, they say. But it's too late. The lawn is gone. The map turning pretty red, except or neutral at this point. The rattiness of the Warp Spiders is definitely going to help out here. They do huge damage to the Light Tyranids. The Gaunts and the Raveners are going to take huge... Oh my god, look at them melt the Ravener Alpha. If those 3 squads jump on anything, they're in dead stuck. However, a Carnifex will put an end to their shenanigans quite nicely. Here we go again. It's time for the blob of Warp Spiders versus the blob of Tyranids. Tyranids taking massive amounts of damage. More damage on the warp spiders. It's expensive, but they are doing decent work here of keeping GuruSkippy back in the base. The sheer amount of damage output that these three squads together can put out, very scary. That's another generator down. Hormigans in a crossfire between three warp spider squads and the warp spider X-Arc and a guardian weapon team. That is somewhere where they do not want to be. It's going to be another generator coming up here for GuruSkippy. I thought it was going to go down, but the spiders decide to get out. And here we see the first Carnifex hitting the field. This Guardian weapon team has been rebought, so they can purchase a Bright Lance. Will be necessary against the incoming Carnifex. But the power income of GuruSkippy has been completely destroyed. Really good economic damage inflicted by these warp spiders. And the blob has to run away. Tyranids can't compete with firepower of this magnitude. The Carnifex will end this silliness, however. Particularly if he upgrades to a Barbed Strangler. GuruSkippy's still doing well, keeping his Hormigants active. They've just been running around, capping stuff. That's all they're doing. They can't really contest in a fight. They can't really perform any useful function other than as a map control unit, which they are doing. The income for GuruSkippy must be next to nothing. A 19 power 200 wreck. That's fairly negligible. Has a tremendous amount of red, though. Huge amount of red resource. Supplies are even. Carnifex is in play. Cannot afford an upgrade for it. But now the warp spiders have to get out of here. Haywire grenades will slow down the Carnifex, but they're not going to be enough to take it out. Is this Guardian weapon team? Yep, that's a Guardian weapon team upgrading to a Bright Lance, but there is a Carnifex on retreat path. One hit. Gets another one, maybe? Yep, two, and it goes down. Unfortunate. That was the longest range crab strike you'll ever see. And Kastet stuck in tier 2. It has to rebuild a Guardian weapons squad. Warp spiders alone will not be able to deal with the Carnifex. They will, however, be able to deal with Hormigans. Teleporting in, the Hormigans retreated immediately, so only lost one model. But warp spiders now taking back control of the northern side of the map. Meanwhile, the Tyranid swarm is in the middle. No upgrade still for the Carnifex. Power income next to nothing for GuruSkippy. Needs to perhaps think about some generators. But will they just lose them again to diving in from triple warp spider? This Guardian squad been kept on one model for the whole game. Feels like just running around capping. He's going to get out of there. Carnifex now has the Thorn back, which makes him a very tanky melee combatant and gives him the charge ability. Also means he can spawn Rippers, which will help interfere with the Bright Lance quite nicely. I guess the choice of the Barbed Strangler would be very easily dodged by the teleporting warp spiders. God, look at them. Shredding the Termagants. Double Bright Lance weapon team now on the field. The Banshees taking significant damage trying to capture the contested victory point under the fire of Raveners. Capillary Tower moved in, and the Rippers are here on the field. Hard to hit with ranged firepower. Decent amount of health. They're good distractions. Carnifex looks to engage alongside the rest of the melee blob. Raveners burrow striking in, disrupting one of the Bright Lances, meleeing the other one whilst it's set up, taking massive amounts of fire from the triple warp spider. But the Carnifex still trying to get to grips with these pesky Eldar. Unable to do so. Warp spiders took a fair old beating, however. Raveners only lost a single model for the price of, what's that, 4 warp spiders, bunch of Banshees. However, there's no power income either for Kastet. He has not rebuilt the generators that we saw bashed minutes and minutes ago. 10 minutes plus, maybe. Tier 3 is a pipe dream for the boy at this stage. Everything, if he's going to win this game, he's going to win it with these warp spiders. Nothing else. Hormigants engaging with Banshees. This is a tough fight for the Banshees. They're on such low health. Will the Hormigants get out? They do. What did we just see there? We just saw the heavy gauge filament onto the Hormigans. Not wanting to go for this cap for some reason is GuruSkippy. Has all of his units nearby, but none of them going for the cap. Odd. He forced the retreat from the warp spiders. More warp spiders down. All of Kastet's resources going into replenishing these warp spiders. But it is a single cap in favour of the Eldar. A single generator now being bought by GuruSkippy, afraid to invest more into power, knowing that the warp spiders can strike from anywhere at any time. And here they are in the mid. Absolutely insane DPS on the buildings when all 3 squads are there with all 5 squad members, and it looks like they've detected the problem, and it will be a Lictor, a tier 3 Lictor from GuruSkippy, a melee assassin, able to jump in, disrupt the Bright Lancers, hopefully catch some of the warp spiders perhaps. Moving up now are the Tyranids on the flank, flanking the Bright Lance weapon team with Raveners and Termagants and the Venom Brood. Venom Brood forced into a retreat. Warp Spiders are in retreat path. Let's see what they want to go for. They're going for Raveners. Raveners retreating right past them. The Lictor moving in under the cover of infiltration, leaping into combat with the Warp Spiders. He will be detected now in melee combat, chewing through them. It's not managed to disrupt them. The Carnifex is just there as a deterrent, deterring the Eldar from pushing any further forwards. They can deal with this with double Bright Lance. If they get a Haywire Bomb onto the Carnifex, it will slow them down sufficiently that the Bright Lances could perhaps kill it. The Lictor taking massive amounts of damage from the Warp Spiders. Does kill the Warp Spider Exarch, however. Meanwhile, Hormigans chasing off Banshees. And the Ravener Alpha takes so much damage, again, just from the blinking from 3 Warp Spider squads. How are they going to catch this guy? Feels like they have to get Barbed Strangler hits. Feels like that's the only way, but how do you afford it? Ripper's moving in to disrupt the Bright Lance, hoping to get some avenue of approach possible for this Thornback Carnifex to get in there and start messing stuff up. Raveners see off one beamy Bright Lance platform. The Lictor is back in. Raveners retreating on very low HP. These are level 2 Raveners. And level 3 Termagants. Warp Spiders taking immense damage from the ranged blob. This could be the end. This could be the thing that breaks his back of Kastet. Diving in. Tyranna formation in base. Let's see how it goes. Arguably the weakest of the nukes. Kastet microing like crazy to try and avoid the spikes coming up. Does a good job. Lost his Guardian, however. The one-man Guardian squad. Lost both weapon platforms. It's just Warp Spiders and Banshees on the field now. And this should be at least a double cap. Oh, the Tyranna formation in base. Tough. Where is the Lictor? Lictor's still back in base. Hasn't been able to achieve all that much. Killed a couple of Warp Spiders, killed an Exarch or 2. But that should be the end of the resistance here. Banshees getting melted, being chased down by Hormigans. Oh, they managed to escape. So little HP on those models. But if Kastet tries to replenish, I don't know if it's worth it. Like, this is good delaying, but how is he ever intending to win the game with this army? The one good thing going for Kastet is the fact that he has done such a good job of bashing power. Warp Spiders, they're going to wipe. Oh no. A momentary lapse in concentration is all it takes, and GG is the call. Oof. What a game. Holy moly. GG, fellas.